Have you ever played with a toy that seemed a little off? Maybe it gave you the chills or made you feel uneasy, but you couldn't quite put your finger on why. Welcome to the world of dangerous toys, where the line between innocent play and pure horror is blurred. This collection of stories explores the darkest concerns of our toy boxes, delving into the sinister secrets that some toys hide. From cursed dolls to possessed playthings, each tale will leave you questioning what really lurks beneath the surface of our childhood playthings. So turn off the lights, grab your favorite childhood toy, and join us on a journey into the twisted world of dangerous toys. Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. In the early 1950s, children's toys were drastically different from what they are today. Back then, companies marketed items that encouraged scientific curiosity, no matter how dangerous the consequences could be. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab was one of those toys that straddled the line between education and recklessness. In fact, it was deadly. This radioactive toy and learning set was priced at a staggering $49.50 and contained samples of 4 different types of uranium-bearing ores, such as altunite, torbanite, uraninite, and carnotite. In addition, it came with a Geiger-Müller radiation counter, cloud chamber, spinthariscope, and an electroscope. But what made the set even more unusual was the comic book it came with, featuring the iconic Dagwood from the Blondie comic strip. The comic book was called Learn How Dagwood Splits the Atom, written in conjunction with General Leslie Groves, who was the director of the Manhattan Project. At the time of its release, Gilbert promoted the Atomic Energy Lab as an educational tool with absolutely no potential danger. However, in 2006, the Radar magazine labeled the toy as one of the 10 most dangerous toys of all time. The fact that the set contained highly radioactive materials wasn't the only cause of concern. The materials and equipment provided required expertise to handle and operate safely, something that children couldn't provide. Though Gilbert claimed that the Atomic Energy Lab wasn't meant for young children, it was indeed marketed toward that demographic. Unfortunately, the product never found a significant audience. Gilbert speculated that this was because the Atomic Energy Lab was more suited for individuals who had an educational background, unlike other toys the company had created. It is estimated that only about 5,000 sets were sold, and the product was available for purchase for just 2 years. The Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab may have been ahead of its time, attempting to introduce children to a world of scientific exploration and experimentation. However, the dangers that it posed outweighed any potential benefits. Nowadays, it seems almost unbelievable that such a product could ever have been sold, much less endorsed as an educational tool. Fortunately, society's attitudes and priorities regarding safety have evolved to the point where we can no longer see something like the Atomic Energy Lab as an acceptable item for sale. Elmo Doll, a popular Sesame Street teddy, or a malicious toy intended to harm the mind of an innocent child? To understand this twisted story, I'm going to take you back to late February, the year in 2008 in Florida. Although Christmas has passed, a young boy called James is still infatuated with one of his presents. Its red fur, big orange nose, and huge white eyes was the nostalgic Say My Name Elmo doll. The bright colors are enough to intrigue any developing mind. However, 2-year-old James was already obsessed with anything Elmo related. He had a huge collection of Elmo merchandise that scattered around his home. So the Say My Name Elmo doll was the perfect gift for him. All you needed to do was tell Elmo your name and he would repeat it. After James's mother, Melissa, changed the batteries, James went off to play with his new doll. It wasn't long before he reappeared, repeating everything the doll was saying. Melissa was distraught with the new phrase this doll had taught her son. But 2-year-old James was oblivious to the threats the doll was making. At first, Melissa was delighted her son had such a fascination with the big-eyed monster, that changed in an instant. You can only imagine her horror when she heard this sweet toy repeatedly threaten her 2-year-old son. In the classic high-pitched Elmo voice, "Kill James!" was repeated every time he slightly pressed on the teddy's stomach. "Kill James!" Obviously, a 2-year-old cannot grasp the extent of this message. To James, it was simply just another doll. It wasn't unusual for Melissa to tuck her son in each night before tidying his huge Elmo collection that seemed to be taking over her house. But that night, she sat on the sofa with the new Elmo doll in her hands. She contemplated throwing it in the bin, but wanted to make sure what she heard wasn't just her imagination. She gripped the teddy's stomach, and once again, in its high-pitched voice, it said, "Kill James!" Melissa was stunned. She sat perfectly still as the same message repeated again. She could not just disregard what this doll was telling her to do. The sleepless night, the fear that this message is permanently ingrained in her son's head. She had to get rid of it, but James adored his doll, so it wasn't going to be easy. Throwing it away and pretending it didn't happen wasn't an option. All she thought was, what if this is happening to another child? What if someone is so sick that they do exactly what the doll tells them? Her mind couldn't stop thinking of the possibilities of something terrible happening. So the next morning, she contacted the news. James and Melissa's story became just another news report on the evil toys you shouldn't buy for your children. You are probably wondering why and how this doll came up with such a phrase. There are a lot of conspiracies and opinions shared on how this could have happened, but the real answer is still a mystery. Aqualeisure inflatable baby boats. The company announced a voluntary recall of its inflatable baby floats. This recall comes in conjunction with the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission, after it was found that the leg strap in the seat of the float can tear, posing a significant risk of drowning. Over 4 million units were sold at retailers across the United States, including major stores such as Target, Toys R Us, and Walmart. The floats were sold between December 2002 and June 2009. There have been 31 reports of float seats tearing, causing children to unexpectedly fall into or under the water. Luckily, no injuries have been reported. Parents and caregivers all over the country have been urged to immediately stop using the recalled floats, as it is illegal to resell or attempt to resell a recalled consumer product. The company has recalled 14 different models, all of which can be identified by the names and model numbers listed on the packaging. Additionally, recalled products will have a date between 0802 and 0708 modeled on the valves. To ensure the safety of children, it is imperative that any recalled floats be immediately taken out of circulation. For those who are unsure if their float is affected, they can look for the lettering NP modeled on the valve, which indicates that it is not included in the recall. Parents should be especially vigilant in the coming weeks to ensure the safety of their children during the pool and beach season. This recall serves as a reminder to always prioritize safety and stay informed about product recalls. Po the Teletubby. In the late 90s, parents all across America were up in arms over the popular children's television show Teletubbies and their doll tie-ins. In particular, Po, one of the 4 Teletubby dolls, has been accused of teaching children inappropriate language. One mother who recently purchased a Po doll for her 3-year-old son reported hearing her child say, "Bite my butt," after playing with the toy. When asked about it, the boy said that he had heard the doll saying it after squeezing it. The doll was also heard repeating homophobic slurs to the child. The company that distributes the Teletubby dolls denied these claims, stating that the voice heard from Po is actually a Cantonese woman saying, "Faster, faster," and "Slower, slower." However, parents remain unconvinced and demand that changes be made to the dolls. One creative solution to this issue would be to offer 2 versions of the Po doll, one with the original voice and one with the modified voice that removes any possible misinterpretations. This way, parents who are concerned about inappropriate language can choose the modified version, while those who trust the company's explanation can choose the original. Additionally, The company could create a video or online tutorial to educate parents on how to properly play with the Teletubby dolls and understand their voices. This would ensure that children are not accidentally exposed to any potentially harmful language. At the end of the day, it is important to remember that Teletubbies and their dolls are designed for young children. As such, companies must be diligent in ensuring that their products are appropriate for their intended audience and take any complaints or concerns seriously. The Killer Polly Pocket Toy. Parents were on high alert during the early 2000s after the release of the newest Polly Pocket toy. However, it didn't last long. Mattel had recalled the popular Polly Pocket playset due to tiny magnets inside the dolls and accessories that pose a serious health hazard to young children. The tiny magnets, measuring just 1/8 inch in diameter, can fall out undetected and be swallowed, aspirated, or placed in the nose or ears by children. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, CPSC, is aware of 170 reports of small magnets coming out of the recalled toys. In 3 of these cases, children swallowed more than one magnet and suffered intestinal perforations that required surgery. A 2-year-old child spent 7 days in the hospital. A 7-year-old child spent 12 days. And an 8-year-old child was also hospitalized. It's important for parents and caregivers to be vigilant when it comes to tiny toy parts. When more than one magnet is swallowed, they can attract each other and cause blockages or infections that can be fatal. Aspiration of the magnets into the lungs requires immediate surgery, and magnets placed in the nose or ears can cause swelling and be difficult to remove. If you own one of the recalled Polly Pocket playsets, it's essential that you stop using it immediately and contact Mattel to arrange for a replacement or refund. The model number is printed on the bottom of the largest pieces on some of the playsets, so check for this to determine if your product is part of the recall. Remember, Polly Pocket magnetic playsets currently on store shelves are not included in this recall, but it's always best to exercise caution and supervise children when they're playing with small toys. Safety should always be the #1 priority, so please take action to protect your little ones today. Over the years, stories like these continue to come up as the safety and well-being of children doesn't seem to be top priority for some companies. But this isn't the end. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.